Welcome back to the ranch. My name is Alexa. If you're here for the first time, let's bake and break some bread together today. So the water that I'm using is warm. It's more than lukewarm. It's a very comfortable warmth. Just to give you a house number of too hot, it would be at like 105, 110 Fahrenheit. That's going to be too hot for our yeast. So I always boil my water and then just let it come down to a nice, comfortable, warm temperature. And I like to work on my countertop. I have a wood countertop here, as you can see. If you have any stone in your house, like a granite or marble or a concrete, I would suggest that you work in a big glass bowl and place like maybe a towel under your glass bowl, because yeast does not like a cold or cool environment. So we want to make sure to keep our yeast and our dough nice and cozy. So I like to create a little crater here in the middle of my dough. And now I'm going to add half of my water, about my yeast. And my sugar. And now very carefully, I'm going to combine everything with a fork. And you want to make sure to be very gentle and not to stir in the flour. And now we are just going to let the yeast do its magic. So another option here, if you don't want to combine all the ingredients together at once, you place the water, the sugar, and the yeast in a separate bowl. Let the yeast do its magic and then combine it with the flour. But I'm sure you'll be fine. This is how I do it. It's very easy, very simple. But just so you know, there is another approach. So now I'm going to carefully incorporate the flour and our salt. And when you knead your dough, make sure you take a look at the time, because you think after 5 minutes, oh, I'm so tired, this is enough kneading. But this is not the case. We need to knead our dough for at least 8 to 9, 10 minutes or so. This is really important. And I'm not using a mixer because I wanted to show you that you can make a beautiful dough, you know, just by hand without any equipment. Let me show you. So that was a good workout. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my dough in a bowl. And I'm going to butter this a little bit. And then we're going to let our dough rest. Okay. And then grab yourself a kitchen towel and just cover him up and place him in a spot in your kitchen where there's no draft, you know, no AC blowing on him or no open window with cold air coming in. So let's give him some time to rest, and then we will finish off our bread and place it in the oven. So while our dough is rising, I wanted to take the opportunity to speak to you about the amounts and the ingredients that I used. I will have everything in the description. However, the amount of water is gonna be different depending on what area you're in, which altitude, you know, if you have the heater on the house or the AC on. So all these things will matter. So I used a lot of water, like about 1.5 cups, if not a little bit more. And I want you to start with about a cup of water only, and then gradually add it in, and then you will see if your dough needs more water. You want the dough to feel like a beautiful skin in the end, and so that's what we're trying to achieve. So gradually add more water if you have to, or maybe you will be fine with just about a cup. So yeah, so let's go back and check on our dough and see what he's doing. And I think I need to feed the boys first. I think they're getting hungry. So I like to bake my bread with a little bit of steam in the oven, and the way to achieve this, I placed a baking pan on the bottom of my oven. Before I turned it on, I have it on at 350, and I'm just boiling some water, and once I put my loaf in there, I'm going to pour that hot water into that little baking pan, and then close the door very fast, because then the steam will come up and it will help to create a crusty crust. So let's check on our dough and see how much he's risen and if he's ready to go into the oven. Ready? Look at that. Probably see this better from the side, how much he's risen. So I'm gonna knead our dough through one last time, and then we are going to place it on a parchment paper. So for those of you who've been with me for a little while, know that I always like to glue down my parchment paper on my baking sheet, because it always has a tendency to fly up. So I just add some butter to the four corners. There you go. And now this is going to go in the oven. Look at the nice bread that you and I made. Look at this. It smells really good. So that's it for today. Thank you for spending time with me here today. You see how easy it really is to make your own bread. All you need is these a few ingredients and a little bit of knowledge that you have now about the dynamics and the chemistry of yeast and water and temperatures. So you are good to go, and trust yourself in the process. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.